Coming up, we're going to brief you the Azerbaijan Grand Prix as well as Red Bull's Flex Wing. Is it legal? We'll discuss that next, and plus much more. Hey guys, welcome in. On behalf of Chaz Day and the Mike Allen, I am Brock Young, welcoming you into another edition of the most unique insight into Formula One, the F1 starting grid. We have a jam-packed show for you today. But first off, Mike, congratulations. You weren't here last week to gloat, so you're now leading by 1 point. And we had to talk about this too, because previously, Chaz and I really didn't like the idea of if our picks finished, not in the right order, but at least say Max finished in the top three, you get at least 1 or 2 points. Now we're really rethinking that. I don't know.
Yeah, of course you are.
Starting to look pretty appealing.
First topic on the docket today is actually coming out of Monaco. It's the Red Bull Flex Wing, and apparently Mercedes has a little problem with it because it helps Red Bull with downforce, and it really helped them in Monaco. It could really help them here in the streets of Baku. But let me just read this right quick. This is from Formula1.com. It said Red Bull, Ferrari, and Alfa Romeo all have confirmed they have rear wings that flex at a high speed, reducing drag on the straights, and then returning to normal as the car slows for corners, providing maximum downforce. All the cars have passed structural tests using strategic loads in the past, but the FIA has issued a technical directive and made them more testing tough, though. And they're going to look into this when it comes to the French Grand Prix in the next couple of weeks, but Mercedes wants them to look at them right now before the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Chaz, as a Mercedes guy, and I keep on referring to you as that, sorry, what do you think about that?
First off, I'd like to say that I'm so much more than just a Mercedes guy. I'm a man. I am. I'm just kidding. No, so yeah.
Thanks
I
for
think
clarification, by the way.
Yeah. You might not know today, but yeah, there's so much to kind of talk about when it comes to this flex swing thing. I think it's interesting. It's tough because the FIA, the whole goal of the FIA is to make things competitive and to keep things on a level playing field. Mm-hmm. But obviously, all the teams are going to do whatever they can do to get an advantage. I mean, because that's literally what they're there for, right? The engineers are there to build the best possible car they can possibly make. So whether it's Red Bull in their rear wing or Mercedes in their front wing, everyone's going to do what they can. So does it give them an unfair advantage? Duh. Like of course, they wouldn't do it if it didn't. I think the fact that now who brought it up originally? Was it because what I heard, or what I saw at least, was Hamilton saw the video, or at least he brought it up based on the video from Spain. Mm-hmm. It was kind of the video of the Red Bull car in the rear shot of the Red Bull car. Is he the one who's really kind of put it on the map?
Well, it just says here in the article that Toto Wolff is complaining.
Okay.
So I'm not too sure about that, and I probably need to research that a little bit more. But it is coming from Mercedes either way.
Yeah, I think the simple answer is is it outside of the scope of what the FIA allows? Maybe. I mean, the FIA will determine that. Is it unethical, or are they trying to gain some unfair advantage? No, it's not unethical. Yes, they're trying to gain an advantage because everybody is.
Well, to your point there, Chaz, also, I remember seeing this on the Drive to Survive series. I forgot it was season 2 or season 3, where you see Christian Horner focused right on his screen there, and he notices when Hamilton was making that corner, he was pushing in his steering wheel, and his tires turned in a little bit to help with that cornering. So he brought that to the FIA and the stewards, and the stewards voted that it was legal. It was part of the okay to have that on his vehicle. Now, Mike,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you want to add it to that, Chaz?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, Chaz, Mike, your thoughts on that?
Well, this just goes back to the culture of the politics in F1. And, if somebody is competitive, they're going to try to find a way to hamstring their opponents. And I think this is just an attempt to do that. All the cars passed inspection before the beginning of the year. All cars passed according to the rules that were written at the time. And I think it's kind of backhanded to get into the season and have a tight, close race with Red Bull and to start looking for all this little knicky-knack stuff that they can pick away at. And I think if the stewards do end up changing the rules somehow and it affects Red Bull, I think it would be a gross misjustice. At the beginning of the season, everybody started out with that technical, and Mercedes beat Red Bull with the car with this on it. So I don't know how much of an advantage it's giving. But, this harkens back to the Lauda, the clash with Lauda and James Hunt, where his car was 1/16 of an inch too wide.
I remember that.
So it's just, I think it's a tactic. I don't think there's really much to it. I think the cars are pretty close together, and this might be also another an emotional reaction to their performance in Monaco, which if you have like we said at the beginning, it all boils down to qualification. And if Leclerc hadn't busted his car up, he'd have been on pole, and it'd have been hard for Max to get by him. And I think he would have won that race. And, Max started out at P2 and ended up leading the whole way. So, and Mercedes had trouble, and Hamilton couldn't get out of 5th or 6th place, I think he ended up in. But
7th,
again, I think it's all about nothing, to be honest with you. And, I'm not a Red Bull or a Mercedes fan per se. I like the fact that it's a close race between Verstappen and Hamilton. It's going to make the season interesting, but I don't think they should change anything. That's beat them on the track.
Mm-hmm.
Don't beat them in the office.
I agree with Mike. I think things like this are exactly what you want to see from teams. If we're being completely honest, we want to see teams that are pushing their boundaries to see what they're capable of doing, as long as it's not blatantly outside of the rules, which this absolutely is not, right? Like, it's the fact that we're even having this conversation is because it's in a gray area, right? And so the FIA is going to review it, then they'll decide. But we want teams going in and coming back and talking to engineering and saying, hey, what could we get away with? Not get away with in the sense that they're doing anything illegal or wrong, but like, just what's the most we could possibly do to give ourselves a shot? You want teams to do that. You don't want teams to just settle and be like, hey, this is our car. This is what we're going to do for the rest of the season. So I encourage all teams to go in and every week try to tweak stuff and come out with something new. Why not?
It's making this talk here. So,
right.
But Mike, you were honestly off the air. What you're saying now is much nicer than you were saying off the air. So.
Well, how about this rule? How about if Red Bull can't use that wing, can we give it to Haas so they at least have a fighting chance? Or Williams. You know what I'm saying?
I was waiting for Williams. Right?
I'm feeling for Schumacher. I could care less about Mazepin. That guy's one of my rabbit holes I went down is all the videos, compilations of drivers getting mad at that guy all through his career, not just F1. I mean, this is and I've got the quote. I think I sent it to you already. for last week. I don't know if you covered it or not, but I got the quote that I heard during the race, and it was hilarious. And it's Maspin. But
yeah, we did cover it last week.
You didn't cover it? Okay, we'll save it for this. Oh, we did?
No, we did. Yeah.
Maspin treats F1 like a martial art.
Yeah.
that was funny then and funny now. But let's move on to the previewing the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. It's on the streets of Baku. The first Grand Prix was back in 2016, 51 laps, 6 kilometers in current length. The race distance itself is 306 kilometers. The lap record was set back in 2019 by Charles Leclerc with 1:43, and it also has the longest straightaway, one of the longest straightaways on the calendar. Now, I did some math here since this is the 5th year on the streets of Baku. 4 previous years, we have Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas, Checo, and Vettel, all with and Kimi Räikkönen, all with 4 years. The one that has the most top 10s is Lewis Hamilton, as well as Vettel. Number of podiums were 2 with both Hamilton and Vettel, but Hamilton has the most points coming out of Azerbaijan with 73. Max has, in his 4 years, he has 2 top 10s, no podiums, 16 points. Bottas has 3 top 10s, 2 podiums, and 51 points, including one number 1 finish on the podium. And Perez has 3 top 10s, 2 podiums, and 38 points. The only one that comes close to Hamilton in the points is Vettel with 57 points.
And this is all at Azerbaijan?
Yeah, in the last 4 years.
This is a crazy looking course.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I do think it's like, I mean, not to take it back to a topic that we've already moved on for, but I do think that it's like, so basically what Red Bull wound up saying was that they couldn't do anything to change it. So basically, Mercedes was trying to get them to change that rear wing, and try to get the FIA to force them to change it. Basically, they were saying, one, they can't change it because it would cost too much money. I guess they were saying they could if they wanted to, but they were saying it would cost too much money, right? So it was just like, it would be too expensive for them to force them to change it. I think specifically to Mike's point, I mean, when you look at that Azerbaijan track, it's a strange looking track, and it's a tough track. I mean, if when you have like a track that's just, you know, it's boxes and straights and then, you know, loops, like that's a track where you're going to get a lot of advantage in the straights and a lot of advantage in the curves. Yeah. Especially since you're doing a damn near 90-degree. I think there's a couple 90-degree turns if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look.
Yeah, there's looks around 4 or 5.
7. I see 7.
I mean it's sick.
It's damn near the whole course is a right angle turn.
Right. So coming out of those turns is going to make, you know, having downforce is going to make a big difference. So
to Mike's point, this is probably the closest thing that we come to an oval. But, no, at first I really didn't like this course. It's warming up to me because you have the opportunity in that long straightaway for overtaking, unlike Monaco. So there's an opportunity there. But let's say move on to picks here, and with let's see if we can overtake Mike here, Chaz. I have because of him doing so well, I have Lewis Hamilton on the podium for the first time on my picks. So I got to go with Hamilton, Max, and I'm going to go with Checo, number 3. So we're going with that. Now I was going to go with this pick here. My other prediction is Mazepin will hit the castle, destroy it, and this will be the last Grand Prix in the streets of Baku. But
How many laps is it? 50?
51.
51 laps?
51 laps.
So I want to add another wrinkle to this.
Okay.
I want the lap that Mazepin will be lapped.
Oh,
Over or under lap 35?
35. I think it's over 35, under 45.
So you got the over, I got the under.
Wait, it's 51 laps, so it's a
51 laps.
That's a pretty long track then.
It's long. It's like 2 miles.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. If it was a shorter track, I would say sure, but I think it's a pretty long lap, a pretty long track, so it'll take them a while.
But right quick, my actual prediction is both Alpines will finish in the points. And I'm going to go with Chaz. I'm going to go with over 35.
Over 30 for Mazepin. I'm going to go under.
Okay, so you're the only one
And you can. I tell you what, if you want to throw that in our points, we can do that every race.
Okay.
What
We're going to give like 10 points for that?
So let's cover it. Let's say what lap, over or under 35 laps, Mazepin either gets lapped or wrecks.
Or gets lapped because he wrecks.
Okay. No, just lapped, because he gets lapped pretty early. I'm going to say under
Okay.
30.
So what, 20 points for that?
Sure.
Well, I mean, it's if we were calling like a specific lap, I would say 20 points, but we're going over under like that.
Have that like the fastest lap type thing.
Yeah.
1 point.
Yeah. That'll just be an extra, maybe 5. Give it 5. Or we could make it really interesting. If the over-under is 35, the difference in laps between the lap that he finally gets lapped and 35.
Okay. So if he gets lapped on 37, then 2.
Then 2, or if he gets lapped on lap 20, 15.
Thank you for adding to my homework there, Mike. I appreciate that.
I was glad to help.
So with that, we'll go with Chaz on his picks.
Yeah, I got Lewis, then Lewis, then Verstappen, then Bottas.
Okay, and your extra prediction for the week.
My extra prediction is Vettel finishing in the points.
He's on a roll, so it's a good possibility.
Well, he's finished outside of the points in the last race, so.
His car's getting better.
He was 5th in Monaco.
Yeah, his car's getting better.
He was. Hold on.
The last 4 races, he finished outside the points, but because Stroll was carrying that team before then, but.
Oh, okay.
So, Mike, what you got?
I think, I want to say Hamilton's going to bounce back because it's a fast course and Mercedes has a fast car. I'm going to go Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc.
And your extra prediction of the week?
Russell will get into Q3. He's been less than a second out every single weekend, the last 3 weekends. I think he puts it together. He gets into Q3.
So this is the first time you're not saying he's going to finish in points, but as far as qualifying, he's going up to Q3.
He'll get into Q3. No, the Williams cars, the Williams cars, at least when I watch the race, they start strong and then they fade. So I don't know if that's a mechanical thing or, I'd hate to say it's a driver thing, but Russell's a good driver. So I just think that the cars they wear out or something's going on with the cars where they just fade. They're not as fast. But he's missed Q3 by less than a second in the last 3 outings. They're calling him Mr. Saturday. And they're excited that he's making it in the Q2. And when he makes it in the Q2, he's like 11, so.
So close.
And so, I think this is when he finally overcomes that hurdle.
Well, I hope so. He was so close in Imola before crashing out with Bottas. And he's been striving ever since, trying to get in the points. How did he finish in Monaco? Number 14?
14, but he was in the beginning part of the race. I think he started like 13th or 14th, and then he was up close to the points for a little while, and then his car just faded. They just slowed down for some reason. I don't know what the deal is.
Well, this is a track that this is the 5th year going into it, but it feels like it's been here like Monaco for many, many years. But
they got a lot of good fans in Azerbaijan. It's well supported.
You know who else does well over there is Daniel Ricciardo. Yeah, I thought about making a prediction with Daniel too. Maybe like a top 10 prediction. I'm trying to think of something that's like interesting. I mean, the Vettel prediction isn't very interesting, to be honest. I mean, when I made that prediction, I was looking at the wrong thing. I was looking at the drivers' championships and saw him in 11th, but I wasn't looking at the standings for the last race. So I feel like a more interesting take might be something to do with Ricciardo or Alonso, probably one of those two guys. And I'm gonna say, I'll say Ricciardo. I'll say Ricciardo. Ricciardo finishes in the top 10, and hopefully he does, because it's a tough race and it's going to expose a lot of teams, I think, just because of the way it's set up, and hopefully that plays into McLaren's favor.
Well, I hope so too, because there's a report actually on F1.com here that Daniel Ricciardo was hoping to bounce back from a very disappointing Monaco. And he says this: "These are my streets." Speaking about the streets of Baku, with a special McLaren hair. I'm sorry, about Monaco. These are my streets. Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, he lives there.
Yeah, I mean, he won in Baku as well. 1 year, I want to say.
When he was with Red Bull.
It was with Red Bull, and 1 year he crashed out with right behind with Mazepin.
He won when he won
Verstappen.
Monaco. When he won Monaco, that was with Red Bull. It was him and Verstappen.
Yep. Yeah, he's got history. I think he'll finish top 10, but not much better.
What do you say about that, Mike?
Well, he's the Alpine cars are getting better.
Yeah,
they're improving, and he's a proven winner. I could see him in the top 10. I don't think his car's fast enough in the straightaways yet to keep up with Mercedes and Red Bull, or Ferrari for that matter.
Can't say that, man.
Well,
Norris is killing it.
Yeah, Norris is killing it. In fact, there was like a story there about how Norris was waving at Daniel Ricciardo as he overlapped him in Monaco.
Overlapped him?
But Norris came back and said, "It's like, I do that with everybody that pulls out of the way." He starts and just waves at him on the side there.
Yeah,
thank you for getting out the way. Yeah, but they just caught that when it was Daniel Ricciardo. But on that note, I mean, getting lapped by your teammate in the same car. So he does need to bounce back. Zach Brown may be looking for another driver in that seat.
Yeah, he's having. I mean, what do y'all think about his season so far? I think he's been not too great at all.
To be honest, I agree with you on that. And in fact, I want to do a Twitter question, not this week, but probably coming up next week after Azerbaijan, is who is the bigger disappointment for their team? Is it Vettel? Is it Alonso? Or is it Daniel Ricciardo? But that's we got a special Twitter question coming up this week. But I agree with you, Chaz. I think he has not. I mean, the years he spent in Formula One, you expect a little bit more out of Daniel Ricciardo in that McLaren. But I mean, I guess he chalk it up. This is his first season with McLaren, still trying to learn the car. But we talked about this before. He's a seasoned veteran by now.
Yeah.
He had
He's a
time.
winner. I mean, he's won before.
Yeah. Mike, what do you think about that? How you're impressed with Daniel Ricciardo?
I'm with you. I think he's a disappointment. Hopefully he puts it together.
Let's actually talk about Ferrari's chances over the weekend. What do you see them finish? In fact, Mike, let's start with you because you have Charles right there on P3.
Yeah, I think he's pissed. I think he's upset about what happened with Monte Carlo, and he's focused to make, he's going to be in the mix at the end of the race. I would not be surprised if he even went P2, but I'm not going to call it because I think this is going to be a Hamilton versus Verstappen with the two fastest cars on the grid. Mm-hmm. But he could be right up there with him. Improving the improvements that Ferrari has made and they continue to make. Those cars are just getting faster and faster. Them and McLaren both.
Yeah. In fact, one year, I think it was 2019, Charles Leclerc had the fastest lap, so he had that extra point.
Yeah.
In Azerbaijan, but now Carlos also does pretty well. Looking at this right now too, he has. I'm trying to find him right quick. This is going to be his fourth year. He has 3 top 10s. No podiums, but has 3 top 10s. So he does pretty well. So I think Ferrari is, poised to at least make a showing. And they've been up there with McLaren too. So I think they're going to be a fight between the two coming up this weekend. What do you think about that, Chaz?
I think it's possible. Like I said, I think a lot of teams are going to get exposed just because of the style of the track. So if you if you don't have the straight line speed or you don't have corner speed, if you're just kind of somewhere in the middle, the best teams are going to really take advantage of that. So I don't know if I have very much confidence in Ferrari for that reason. I don't think that they have a particularly great car this year. So I don't really agree with you on that.
Okay. That's why we love this show. We can disagree with one another.
It's okay that Chaz is wrong from time to time.
Well, how about this? We're going to talk about these two later on, but let's throw Norris in the mix and his chances for this weekend, because normally you see, this is just the 6th race of the season, but when he finishes on the podium, the next race, he doesn't do too well. And that's what proven the race. There's one race that actually Daniel Ricciardo finished higher than Norris. Is this going to be that race? Since we talked about Ricciardo earlier, Chaz,
is he going to come back in Baku?
Well, I'm talking. Yeah, actually would Ricciardo finish higher than Norris?
No.
In Baku. Well, no. There's one race that Daniel did finish higher.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen in Baku, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to happen in Baku, but good luck to him. I hope that he rides well. I say it almost every week. I am a real fan of McLaren. I'm going to buy some merch here soon. I was just kind of scrolling through. They've got a lot of cool stuff in their store, interesting stuff in their store, but that has nothing to do with how poorly Daniel Ricciardo is going to drive this weekend.
Well, I certainly hope they keep that livery. They said the team.
I hope so.
The team principal said most likely not, but
that livery is beautiful.
It is. But Mike, your take on Daniel Ricciardo? Will he finish higher than Norris over the weekend, or is it going to be Norris's race?
I think Norris will come in front of them. I think they'll both be in the top 10, but I think Lando's got the hot hand right now in Ferrari. So
Yeah, they should both finish top 10. I agree with that.
yeah, I see I see a Mercedes, Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, or Ferrari, McLaren, top 4.
The over-under on Norris finishing 3 spots ahead of Ricciardo.
Over. Lando will be 4th. Ricciardo will be 8th or 9th.
I agree with that. In fact, I'm going to probably take some heat from our friends on Twitter because we got quite a bit of Daniel Ricciardo fans, but I don't think he could bounce back this week. I think it's still Norris's race. I don't think he'll finish on the podium, unfortunately. But I have the over, like Mike.
Yeah, and also screw everyone from Australia. No, I'm just kidding. That's not what.
Well,
there
goes our fans there. Thank you very much, Chaz.
No, that's not what we mean to say.
Jesus Christ, man.
Sure, they're great.
Lord. Can we keep fans from a certain country, please? I mean, I think I'm going to put up a map of the world, and I'm just going to start Xing out countries that would just start pissing off here.
Piss off.
Yeah.
No, we love Kiwis. The fruit, not the people.
Moving on. Our Twitter question of the week. We were talking about these two earlier. Who will win the championship first? It was taking the spot at 56.3%. Charles Leclerc will win the championship first going forward. Now, I am a Ferrari fan, but first and foremost, I'm a man just like Chaz.
Amen.
But we talked about this a little over a month ago, and it just kind of go along with me. Give me some rope here. That it was reported that McLaren was selling and has sold their iconic headquarters in England to a New York-based firm, Global Net Leased, which actually Global Net Lease is actually leasing it back to McLaren, but they bought it, and McLaren has received $236 million off of that purchase that they could put towards, development of their, power unit, chassis, facility, whatever the case may be, with that cash on hand. And we talked about this also a few months ago too, and I want to get back into this as well. It's not right now, but probably like on our What If series, because, there's rumor that Mercedes, Renault might be leaving Formula One. This might be the opportunity for McLaren to develop their own power unit, just like Red Bull is, with help with Honda. But with this information, I'm saying this as a Ferrari fan, I pretty much see probably Norris winning before Leclerc. Mike, where am I going wrong with this?
I don't know, because I haven't really thought about it.
Who are the options again, Brock?
Norris and Leclerc.
Both. Who's going to win the championship first?
Yeah.
Oh, Charles Leclerc.
Both in the respective teams for next couple of years, so they're going to be in that McLaren and that Ferrari for a little while.
It's going to take Hamilton retiring, but it'll be probably Verstappen and Leclerc for a couple of years, and then Leclerc will win it. because Ferrari was down for some years, but I think they're back. They're back, and they're gonna be strong and moving forward, especially with the new rules.
And that's a good point there too. You get the new rules, new regulations coming out. I see 3 teams prospering from this in the next coming years, next couple of years. In fact, I see it as Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren are the top 3 ones that are going to benefit the most out of this. Chaz, what do you think about that?
I think there's a difference between doing well and winning championships. When it comes to doing well, I think Ferrari is on the. They're coming back, and in the next couple seasons, they're going to do well. As long as Hamilton's here, he's probably going to win the drivers' championship. When he decides to retire, the very next thing that will happen is Verstappen will win a championship, and Norris will take over that seat. And once he knows what he's doing, I think he will win a championship. So I actually think that in the immediate future, Leclerc will do better, faster, and more consistently. But he's still not going to win a championship because he's not going to win over Hamilton, and he's not going to win over Verstappen. So those are still non-championship years for him. And then once it's just kind of him head-to-head or against Verstappen, I think that Norris has a better chance in a Mercedes than Leclerc does in a Ferrari.
What do you think about that, Mike?
That makes total sense. I can go along with that line of thinking. Absolutely.
I agree with that. That's, So, Chaz, you're saying that Norris might be jumping ship to Red Bull?
No, Mercedes.
Or Mercedes?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lando Norris, George Russell, maybe the Mercedes team here in the near future.
Ooh, that would be a good lineup for them.
That'd be an amazing lineup for them.
Yeah.
But who will allow Toto Wolff to win the championship out of those 2, though?
Wait, what's the question?
Who will Toto Wolff allow to win the championship? Because he said he didn't want another 2016.
Well, he's got to say that, but he's also like Rubbin's racing, right? Like he definitely wants them to. He wants them to go after it. He wants them to be competitive. And let's be honest, the team won in that situation because Hamilton lost a championship, but Mercedes didn't. They still won a constructor. So Mercedes still won in that situation, and they pushed each other past probably what they would have done to be competitive, and they kept themselves at the top because Ferrari was right on their ass too. That was actually a very good year for Vettel and Raikkonen. So Mercedes won. Mercedes wins when their drivers are competing at that level, I think.
Well, they are, but
especially when they're competing against each other.
Yeah.
But that's why Bottas makes a great number 2 right now for Hamilton, because he doesn't really.
Because he lies down.
I didn't want to say that, but
all Finnish people aren't passive. Brock, you can't just say that.
I was trying to be nice. We're losing fans as it is, so trying to keep as many as we're paying. But
I can see once Hamilton leaves, I can see Bottas trying to stay with Mercedes as the number 1, but he might end up going to another team to be the number 1 driver.
Well, he is signed on for at least 2022. Things could change.
Hamilton, right?
No, Bottas. Bottas extended 1-year agreement through 2022.
Yeah, they both did. Yeah.
Well, Hamilton said he doesn't want to make a choice until at least the summertime.
Yeah, I think Hamilton only signed a 1 year. That was kind of a big story coming out of last year. So he's only in it for this year at the moment. Right. Bottas is locked in through next year. Unfortunate, which is weird to me, but whatever. Which I know, if it says anything, it says that they tried to lock Hamilton in also.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just unwilling to.
I think, like I said at the beginning of the season, Hamilton wins his 7th. He's done. He doesn't want any long-term commitments.
And that's probably why he's waiting until the summertime, see if he's, leading the pack.
Wait till he sees where he's at in the points, and if he
Yeah.
looks like he's going to win his 7th, then might sign an extended contract, or maybe another year contract.
But I think it's still going to be close, though, by the summertime, honestly.
Yeah, it's not going to be a runaway.
Yeah, and 8th, by the way.
Or 8th, yeah. Because that's the last, and then he'll own every single record.
Well, speaking about Hamilton, him and Toto Wolff on the next story here, which is totally understandable. They want to find more options for people that want to get in Formula One to get in Formula One. But right now, you either need rich parents or a team needs to sponsor you, basically scholarship, all the way up. Because we reported this earlier that. Or a few weeks ago, that McLaren signed a 13-year-old from New York State to be part of their junior program. And there's this one, I think it was Red Bull, I want to say, that they signed another 13-year-old from China as part of their junior league. I think it's Red Bull that did it. They signed a 13-year-old from China as part of their junior program. So they're starting early with that, but I kind of agree.
How's he gonna train F1 if he has to go to work?
I don't know. I mean, that's a Christian Horner question right there. So.
He's 13. Where's he going to work? Babysitting?
No, he's in China.
Oh, dude.
In China, by 13, you're probably a senior VP somewhere. You're like mid-career.
Shift lead at the assembly line.
15, you're going through like a middle life crisis, thinking about a red Corvette. Ugh.
Well, I think they outlaw YouTube in China, so I think we're safe here.
Yeah.
But sorry. It is actually not Red Bull. It's Mercedes that signed a 13-year-old to the junior program.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, when you posted that story, or the topic at least, I actually thought you were talking about something else. I didn't realize you're talking about. I thought you were talking about a story where Toto was talking about teams coming into F1, and he wanted to make it easier for teams to, or he actually wanted to make it harder for teams to get into F1. So I got confused about what you were talking about exactly, because there's a cap right now for teams, or I guess a limit on what teams have to pay in order to get into Formula One. So I guess it's like 200 million.
Yeah.
In order to get in, and I guess it's effectively a floor on the valuation of each of the teams. If the team comes in, they invest 200 million, you're kind of securing the value of the team, and plus you're diluting the overall value of each of the teams, because now the splits go 11 ways versus the 10 that it was going, right? But so I totally missed the story. I thought you were talking about a completely different story. Sorry about that.
You know what? That's a good story. Let's talk about that next week. I want to get into that, more teams in F1.
Yeah.
But this is for like future drivers that want to get into Formula One. And to be honest, I agree with him. But Mike, off air, you were made mention that Hamilton has like a junior program himself where he trains.
I think this is one of his things through Mercedes.
Well, both him, Toto Wolff, and Lewis Hamilton, they have loads of money. They could probably, help sponsor some of these kids that want to get into karting in a Formula 3 or Formula 4 and build their way up.
Yeah.
Now, many drivers have that opportunity as well. They could probably, maybe that's what, Kimi Räikkönen is waiting to do, retire and just start, teaching racing, I guess. I don't know what to say over the radio.
Hey, Kimmy's having too much fun, man.
Oh my God.
Kimmy's just going to say, I don't have the drink.
I love that. But Chaz, what do you think about that? Your opinion on?
It's cool. It's super cool. I mean, Mike was just talking about it earlier. He was talking about how great Hamilton's story is, and it's a great story, but it's also a rare one, right? And so this kind of changes the dynamic that exists, where some kids who are super talented, have great hand-eye coordination. We've got amazing technology now where we can judge that kind of stuff early in kids, and we're not just going off intuition anymore. Now they're measuring things like never before, right? So you can see kids who like genetically have, amazing hand-eye coordination and a high potential to be really good in the sport, and give them the opportunity to actually be good. Whereas first, I mean, Hamilton is literally lightning striking. There's so many reasons why he shouldn't even be here, not excluding, it's not just the money thing, it's also opportunity and exposure. You have to have a combination of all those things. So if there's kids who are talented enough and interested enough and can now get funding where, money is not a factor, I think it makes the sport better.
Mike?
No, I agree. I think that, how much talent is out there that never gets an opportunity because things weren't lined up or doors weren't opened, or just they didn't have a father that worked 2 jobs and then drove his son out to a karting track. A lot of parents look at that and say, well, no, we're not going to do that. Why don't you get into baseball or something easier?
Or his dad has no technical acumen. He doesn't have the ability to
And he just went and did it anyway. But, you go back and there's a lot of parents that wouldn't have done that. So, Hamilton, a lot of where Hamilton is today is because his dad didn't say no and just figured it out as he went for whatever reason. And to have a platform now so that parents aren't, you don't have to, like Chaz says, have that lightning strike of a good parent that backs up your dream and makes those sacrifices. Now you can have an organization that can be that for you, and I think that's great.
Yeah, I love those rags to riches stories there. Overcoming. That's why I give
Mazepin credit.
No, God, no. Utmost respect to Lewis Hamilton for that. Him and his dad, just.
Is this a Mad Circus meeting? I'm sorry.
God, no. Well, I missed one on Monday, so we got to make that up now.
That comedy's coming hard and fast.
I'm telling you, man. Jesus Christ. Save that for the station, Chaz.
We got to get a race, like just for fun. You know how like they do the interview style stuff. F1 does like the interview style, like the behind the scenes stuff. Yeah. We got to get a Mazepin Stroll head to head. That'd be real fun.
And throw Nicholas Latifi in there because his dad owns, helps.
Latifi would fit. I mean, if you want to get technical, Schumacher would fit too.
Yeah.
Into that lot.
Well, Schumacher's more like Verstappen and Raikkonen, where their dads were in F1. So that's more of they were millionaires because their dads were in F1. So
more heritage, yes, but also
they just did
the mechanics are the same though. Like you got in because you have money and access.
Yeah, that's true. You grew up with it.
So you should have like the money drivers championship.
Yeah. Your daddy never raced, but he owns all the oil fields in Uzbekistan. So
yeah. Well, you could throw Carlos in there.
Well, I was just gonna say to kind of our earlier and Mike's earlier point, like part of the deal with F1 and part of the reason for the program even is the fact that everyone's parents have money. If you're in F1 today, 99 out of 100, their parents had money because you had to, like functionally you had to. It's like, yachting. I mean, there is not a single person who's into yachting as a hobby who doesn't have money, because you need money in order to do it.
Yeah. And you think those boats wouldn't be as expensive, but they're very expensive.
Quite so.
I feel like Mike went boat shopping.
Little inside story. When I grew up in Petoskey, Michigan, we were right off Little Traverse Bay, and Petoskey and Harbor Springs are the resort towns for all the industrialists. Had all their summer cottages. And when I say summer cottage, a 15-room, 8-bath cottage. That was a cottage.
Yeah, something quaint.
So I grew up with the Ford family, the Proctors, the Gambles, Strohs. I grew up with their kids, and of course, all summer long we would be in the boat club, the sailboat club. And my dad ran the kind of like the summer camp for the resort that we lived on. So I got to go do all that stuff with them. And then crew the boats. But yeah, I never owned a boat, but I was allowed to crew some of those boats as a crew member. But they'd be rolling out there in their K97s and their Hoagies and their catamarans. It's like, yeah, we just bought this boat for $2,600. Where's yours? I'm like, well, my dad's a football coach and a school teacher, so don't got one.
Yeah, so it's there are just certain sports like that only certain people are into. So this gives a chance to kind of level the playing field, which is it's cool. It's cool, and like I said, I think it's good for the sport. Ultimately you get to get the best drivers and not just the drivers who have the most access.
I totally agree with that. I mean, that's said before. I hope they have something where in the works that they could probably pay for. I mean, they already have it with like the junior driver program, but I mean, extend that a little bit more and help these drivers, because you never know who doesn't do so well. Maybe in Formula 2 or Formula 3 may do well in Formula 1. Like it does well, but they probably won't win championships. We'll wait and see what Yuki does, but
right.
Well, I think they had a meeting. I think they had a meeting with Yuki.
Well, he's cursing too much now.
A little behind the scenes. I know you're angry, but there's some things you don't say in front of the camera.
Please don't do that.
So we're gonna go ahead and slow your car down a little bit to get your attention, and then.
So we're adding all these other points here.
Well, we figured you had enough money to afford a really cool mic. We figured that
I appreciate that, Mike. I appreciate that.
Put a little more on your plate.
At the end of the season, I'm going to buy a little small trophy from these trophy shops, so you can have it on your mantle. Whoever wins it,
display
for the rest of the year, just like a Stanley Cup.
Display it behind us.
Yeah, I won that.
Well, like the final show, we need to do it remotely somewhere where all three of us can sit at a table. That way, whoever wins, we can get out the champagne and.
Well, we could try and do it at the Circuit of the Americas, but I don't think we might get kicked out.
Well, we could just,
let's just have it on video.
Get a bar to sponsor us somewhere, set up in the corner of a bar.
No, if we get kicked out, then it'll just be the title of the show. We got kicked out of Circuit of America.
Hey,
That's
that'll be we'll make headlines.
That's right. We are such insiders with F1. We actually got kicked out of an F1 race course.
Before he made it big.
We got Mazepin.
What a way to end the show, I tell you. Man. Thank you for joining us this week, but always join us next week. And in the meantime, follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Former Racing. We have a new Twitter poll out right now. We're going to get into it this week, but I want to save it for next week because I want to get your guys' opinions on it. Is will Williams be able to keep George Russell? Make sure you head on to, it's on the Twitter page right now at Former Racing. Also have a topic for us here or on our new show, What If? Drop us a line, theformerracing@gmail.com, or as well as like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below. And once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here on the Former Racing.
See you guys.
Hopefully, Chaz will overtake Mike.
Not a chance.